Hello and welcome, guys, to a game with no volume. Does this work? Oh, it does! Shit! We've got a game with volume. Strategic point spotted here. I forgot that I've changed all my values for the in-game volume because I had a tournament not so long ago. Oh well. Here we go, we got a cast. This is from the Elite League, upper bracket, round 1. Inikura versus Man of Faith. So this will be a best of 5 for the upper bracket. So first player to win 3 games is the overall winner. And Inikura is doing this new shit that he loves to do with IG. Ever since the guardsmen got their upkeep changed, he doesn't really like getting multiple guardsmen. He likes to spam tier 1.5, often getting like double Kadashans. Which makes sense, you know, they're a very versatile unit. But yeah, it means he's only got 1 guardsman, which means that in the early game your capping power is going to be a bit diminished. And he's kind of got unlucky with a 50-50 here. The Sentinel would have liked to have met the IST so the guardsman could cap. Then again, Strike Squad would just come over and easily force off the guardsman. But now the Sentinel kind of just wasted its time coming into mid because nothing was here to shoot. And the Strike Squad just gets a free cap up here. Now obviously the Brother Captain early on will be able to solo the Lord Commissar. Similar amount of DPS each, but the Brother Captain's just got more HP. Sentinel counters the IST quite well, so that's the sort of thing that you want to be going for in this matchup. You want the Sentinel to be constantly hunting down the IST. You want the Commissar to be tying up and bleeding the Strike Squad, preferably with a power sword quite early on. And then you want your Guardsman and Sentinel to be shooting down the Brother Captain. They don't really get too phased by him. That said, when you've only got 1 Guardsman, it's going to be a bit tougher because you just don't have a lot of DPS on the field to focus down that Brother Captain. He does have a pretty decent Storm Bolter as well, that BC, so that can definitely bleed your Guardsman. But we'll have to see what happens from here. So Tex is going for operatives. I must say that double operatives is also quite popular at the moment, and so I bet there will be double operatives, and then Inikura will get double Kadashans with probably the power sword. That would be just a really nice versatile build. The power sword is kind of good against everything with that battle cry ability that it gets, and Kadashans as well are also really good against everything. You know, they got powerful power melee damage, so they don't really get beaten by Strike Squad in melee until, like, unless the special's involved. That's not going to happen. Yet they've got enough range DPS to start focusing down things like Strike Squad, operatives, and the Brother Captain. And then they've got all the knockback abilities too. Now, I would actually argue that Kadashans counter operatives. Operatives generally are meant to counter ranged blobs, but Kadashans don't really have a blob, they just go around independently. They detect the operatives and they can just out-trade them in ranged combat. You can see that the Kadashan Devils have a lot more HP than the operatives do. That said, the burner bombs, well not burner bombs, incendiary bombs from the operatives will be very strong against Kadashans. So maybe it'll come down to that, how well they can use those incendiary nades. IED's going down, but I don't know if Tex has seen the operatives yet. Even if he has, he knows they're on this side of the map, so potentially he could wipe an IST squad if they run through this way. IST are kind of in the wrong position for that though, so I don't know if the IED is going to get a lot of value. The thing with IEDs though, they always give you line of sight even if they don't actually get a wipe, so there's always value in that. As predicted, we're going to see 2 Inquisitorial Operatives versus 2 Kadashan Devils. Both units scale really well as well. The Kadashan Devils, of course, when they get their Sergeant, get a Melter Gun, so that gives them a level of AV as well. Whereas the Operatives, when they get their Sergeant, get a Melter Bomb, so that gives them AV. So you can kind of see why the meta is forming around these sort of units. And it is the same sort of principle as well as to why there's only 1 IST and only 1 Guardsman. With both of the leader upgrades, the IST end up costing a lot of pop and really draining your requisition income. Same reason people don't like to get the Commissar and the Sergeant on the Guardsman these days. Not that that build doesn't really work, it certainly does, and we've seen Twilight use it quite effectively in the modern era. But yeah, this sort of double tier 1.5 and 1 Guardsman build is very common these days. You gotta love the chain knockback from the old reliable into a special from the Lord Commissar. Getting the carapace armor as well, get a bit more regen. Ooh, he might die here. Perhaps saved by that old reliable, to be honest. At least he'll be a lot more tanky for future engagements, but that does put Inikura quite a lot behind in the eco game. Looks like he only lost 1 gen, which isn't too bad. But then he's gone for these 2 war gears as well, so he's really far behind now. Could really do with getting some sort of counter bash off, but that's going to be difficult with the operatives. Incendiary grenade goes down, doesn't really do a whole lot though. Bit wasted really, and the brother captain is easily forced off by the guardsman and the sentinel. Guardsmen don't even have the sergeant, he's just not using them in combat at all, he's only got them for repairs and capping. Well, not like you can't have the guardsmen anyway since they're a starting unit. That incendiary grenade lands a bit better. Does a nice little bit of damage to these Kadishans, and they're now going to walk through the fire as well. So again, that's going to do some good DPS, but as mentioned before, Kadishans countered the operatives quite well with their knockback abilities and control. An old reliable on these guys will secure this victory. Yeah, the operatives have got to get out of there. So they'll be good for like hit and runs with the incendiary grenade, but in a straight up firefight, they're going to lose to the Kadishans. They obviously can't melee the Kadishans either. So Man of Faith really needs to use his auxiliaries well. Now Man of Faith does have a lot of things going for him here. He's not only going into tier 2 sooner, he's also teching up before Inikura, and quite a lot before as well. Kadishans are going to get routed here, they're just too low on HP, they're not going to be able to fend off these units in melee. Do see the Tomes of Titan on the strike squad, granting them that little baby smite, as well as their energy burst to snare and drain energy, as well as more HP and melee damage. Very versatile upgrade. None of those things on their own are very good, but you get all of them for a pretty cheap cost, so it's a nice little upgrade for the strike squad. Now, having that upgrade or not, you're not going to be able to deal with the Commissar. Probably will energy burst him here though, to slow him down and drain the energy from his shield. Yep, there we go. And now this Commissar should get focused down pretty easily with the double operatives. Honestly, the strike squad should engage, yeah. One good special from the strike squad. They're in a great spot, and they will get specials because the Commissar's still level 1, not level 2. Guardsman over here trying to cap. Now, only having 5 Guardsmen, it's going to take them a long time to take out that node. They only do 20 DPS, 5 Guardsmen, not good at all. The melee heroes are really struggling to find much effectiveness in this sort of build. Ooh, that's brutal! Incendiary grenade and a smite, and another incendiary grenade in retreat. Lots of bleed for the Kadishans, that hurts a lot. Lost 6 Kadishan models. That's painful. These guys, you know, they don't bleed loads because of the die last bleeders that they've got, but when they do bleed, it hurts because they cost power. 35 requisition is a lot for IG. Free power as well, so that's like 180-ish and 15 power. Quite a lot there, man. Because, you know, the IG economy isn't really designed to take that level of bleed. You do have a lot of upkeep. That said, Inikura's build obviously has less upkeep than normally you would expect for IG, so that will help him in that regard. But he's still just so far behind on tech. He's never been able to bash Tex, whereas Tex has bashed a couple of his gens. They seem to have had pretty even control of the contested power nodes. But yeah, Inikura's also invested in 2 war gears, whereas Tex has got none. He's only got this upgrade on the Tomes of Titan. Now he does have the Sergeant on the IST as well. But overall, he spent a lot less, and that means that Tex is able to get a Dreadnought out before Inikura can get his Chimera out. So really, how well this Dreadnought does is going to be the defining factor of the game, I think. The other thing that could really define how this game goes is the VPs. The VPs are so massively in favour of Tex, and this side of this map, this whole sort of elevated ridge, is extremely beneficial to whoever is above in VPs, basically. It's really defensible, really easy to hold the 2 cap. Very hard for a race like IG to push against. It's hard for any race, but IG are known for being really good at defending ground, not being very good at pushing ground. So once the VPs get to like 100 left for Inikura, Tex can just hold this area and keep his melee here so they can't be shot at, and can obviously instantly engage when anything comes around, and then he'll probably just win on victory points. But perhaps Inikura can counter that. It looks like he's going to get a bash now. It's only IST, which certainly won't have a chance against the Kadashans. No upgrades on the Kadashans yet. Instead prioritising getting the Stormtrooper squad out. I like that. That'll be effective. Gazman needs to be really careful, yeah. Very close to wiping. Is he going to get him? No, no. Might actually lose the strike squad there. Ooh, rear armor melter bomb. So double melter bomb. Oh shit, and the Dreadnought was there with a multi-melter. And that's just going to be the end of the Chimera. 2 melter bombs from the operatives, and then the Dreadnought being in the right position with the multi-melter. That is a dead Chimera. So, oh, he's gone for the melter guns with the Stormtroopers. Okay, that's not ideal. That obviously, there, you know, that gives him an AV source. He does kind of need it. He doesn't really have anything else at the moment. He's getting the missile launcher. He already has the power sword, so it's a bit suboptimal, really, to invest in the claw. He doesn't have any sergeants on the Kadashans, but the problem is these guys just don't do a lot of DPS, and this happens. They just get sniped down by the melter gun from the Dreadnought, and these guys are expensive. They're like 40 requisition each. Pretty sure each melter shot will probably kill, yeah, 190 damage per shot. I think Stormtroopers only have about 180 health. Someone do the maths. What's that? 80 divided by 20. Is that 16 or something? So, is that 216 HP? That seems like a lot, actually. Oh, yeah, because now they get buffed health with the anti-armor kit, 20 extra health. Okay, so it won't one-shot these Stormtroopers, but it'll be pretty close, you know, a little bit of trickle damage from the operatives. Oh, this looks like a wipe squad. Dreadnought should have shot them with a melter, but it might not even be necessary. Yep, wiped Kadashans. Just a bad position there for the Cats, really. Outnumbered, having to fight 3 of these. I don't know why he's just dropped the mines. He knows this Kadashans. That was a very, very strange use of the global. He obviously should have just dropped a flare there. Should have Inikura. That would have saved his squad. I don't understand this mine drop at all. I also don't know why Tex is not even destroying them. Just get rid of them, so they don't end up wiping one of your squads in retreat. I guess if he always sends the operatives over this side, it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, that was highly questionable. Last cannon, I suspect. Well, we've got a heavy bolt heavy weapons team at the moment, but I suspect it'll get turned to a last cannon. Strike Squad are doing a really good job of controlling this Commissar. Casman is still default, they're only just getting the Sergeant now. Wow. Dreadnought just going to force melee on the Sentinel. Does absolutely fucking massive damage with those shots. Sentinel trying to stomp away the Dreadnought, it looked like. That's not going to work. Commissar's probably going to go down here. Canticleer of Absolution is used to reduce the cooldowns on all of the Grey Knight abilities, as well as give HP and energy regen to nearby units. Finally see some upgrades on the Brother Captain. We see Ward being used on him from the Nemesis Warding Staff, granting a little bit of damage resistance, and now he goes in and is absolutely bullying these Stormtroopers. The Dreadnought survives. Did the last cannon ever come out? No, it didn't. That's the problem. If he already had the last cannon up, which really he should have, they were heavy bolter ages ago, that might have been a dead Dreadnought there. But he didn't, unfortunately. Oh, he lost the Sentinel as well. I didn't even realise that. Oh, that's really bad for Inikura now. His only AV source is these Stormtroopers, and I assume he's going to get a last cannon, but he's taking too long. Now this Dreadnought's already nearly level 3. The operatives are back on his gem farm again. They've cleared this entire side of the map. It's all caught up for Tex. The VPs are really coming in Tex's favour, and Inikura's running out of time. He seems very low on requisition as well. Kadashan's having to leave the base with very little HP. That's not good against all these incendiary grenades. They have to go back. They're bleeding more models. Gas will get fully upgraded now. I suppose he realises he does just need a bit more manpower, really. Nice use of the retreat breaking ability from the Inquisitorial operatives, the fallback plan, giving them that extra HP regen, but obviously they are a specialist unit, they're not a generic ranged unit, so in a 1v1 fight against upgraded Guardsmen, they're going to lose that. They need to be hitting from a flank, getting the Guardsmen with incendiary or smoke grenades first, and then taking the fight. Not just fighting head on. That's how you beat operatives. You fight them head on with ranged units. Same as Kadashans. Cost for cost, generic ranged units will beat them. That's kind of the price they have to pay for all these extra utility upgrades. So we now see fully upgraded IST as well. Oh well, no, actually, there's no weapon upgrade. You can still get plasma guns, but they've got their Sarge and their Acolyte. I'm not sure about the use of Ward there, it doesn't really seem too necessary. I suppose it stops a shotgun blast from being able to affect the Strike Squad, which is pretty nice. You see the Mantle of Terror, which reduces all ability cooldowns to the Brother Captain, as well as giving him extra energy regen. And Battle Rights, which is a cool little ability, giving some passive heal over time to nearby units. And Bulwark, which grants melee damage resistance and damage bonus to nearby troops. So basically, he's got a load of things that can just buff up the Strike Squad. He can buff their damage, buff their damage resistance, buff their damage resistance again, as well as giving them knockback immunity, and then he can use Wield the Hammer and buff the damage resistance again, as well as give him speed. And then he can heal them up between fights with the Battle Right. So as you can see, that's not a very strong heal. It isn't really designed to be a strong heal, it's more supplemental. The reason you get Mantle of Terror primarily is the extra energy regen, max energy, and the reduction in ability cooldown, so you can spam that ward, spam that bulwark, spam that Wield the Hammer. But it's nice in between engagements to get a little healing as well. It's something that Audomalius can struggle with. That was Bulwark in action there. Strike Squad not losing any models. That's the beauty of Strike Squad when you use them well. Shitload of HP and they rarely drop any models, nearly level 3 now. But as I mentioned before, VP's really the problem for Inakura. Even if he does manage to snipe this Dreadnought, which he did force off and there's not a lot of repairs for it, it doesn't really matter because Tex can now just move everything, including these double operatives, over onto this left-hand side and just hold the VPs now. There's not many VPs left for Inakura. He's going to have a problem dealing with that because he's IG, which are a ranged-based faction. So how's he going to deal with melee troops just hiding behind the wall here? As soon as he comes around, they're going to jump on him. Brother Captain can be down here, the operatives can. It's just a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. There's so many VPs for him to get back, I don't see how he's going to be able to do it. If you had a Lehman Russ, it'd be different. You know, Lehman Russ, drop a bunker down, put your heavy weapons team in the bunker, get a medic bunker so you can heal up all the guardsmen, they can keep repairing the Lehman. You'd be sorted, but right now he's just got all these fragile little infantry squads. He's going for a bunker, which, you know, it makes sense. I don't really know about this positioning of the bunker, but okay. He needs it. He has to hold these VPs now. He recognises that. All Tex has to do is push everything onto this left-hand side and hold the double cap. Burrow Cap can just walk through all the mines here. Ward gets dropped down so that these guys don't get knocked over by the mines. They still get suppressed though. Yeah, nothing's knocking them over. Man, that's brutal. They need to get out. They're going to start bleeding. Just retreat the Strike Squad Tex. Well, I guess at this point they can just get into melee with the Stormtroopers. Guardsmen going in the bunker as well. Yeah, not really a great position for these Stormtroopers. They need to get out. Poor lads. And once again, the Strike Squad get out without losing a single model. Tanking so much damage. Have to assume incendiary grenades are coming in here onto the bunker. That would make the most sense. Maybe... Okay, he's trying to force off the Cadishans first, then he's going to do that. Fallback plan should be used, yep. So again, they get that HP regen, they don't have to worry about bleeding any models. They might if they start fighting the guardsmen here, because they haven't recovered to full HP. But they're chucking out that incendiary grenade, that should do some good damage. Wow, it actually does a decent amount to the bunker. But the incendiary damage over time doesn't really hurt the bunker, so I guess it's not that great. And here's the Dreadnought again. Problem is there's another incendiary grenade available, so that's going to really deter that las cannon. But there's... the Commissar just isn't really doing anything, is he? I must admit. Finally he does get level 2. I don't think the las cannon is shooting the Dreadnought. No, he's not. He's only shooting the IST. I don't know if he's got the correct angle of fire here. It doesn't look like he does. I don't know if he can get in this window. You've got to be careful with the rotational positioning of your bunker. Alright, well, and he's holding on here. Tex can't quite get this VP. This bunker actually is working out really well for him. The problem is Tex is going tier 3 and he'll have Terminators soon. I don't know how the fuck Inakura is going to deal with that. Like, as soon as Tex hits tier 3, he should be able to just drop in some paladins, and that's going to be GG, because there's just nothing that Inakura has that can handle paladins. Strongest unit in the entire game. So I guess we wait out and see what happens. Metal Stormtroopers are going to go protect the VP on this side. The other Stormtroopers are going to come over this way. They're going for a assault kit. Man, look at the tanking that these Strike Squad are doing. Even with all the damage buffs from this Battlecry effect, doesn't matter. Big yikes. They're just not dropping, are they? Finally lose one model, but they're still in combat, just ripping through all the IG units. Look how quick they're killing those Stormtroopers. The last cannon again, it's just not firing at the Dreadnought. Oof, Dreadnought impales that Commissar. Dreadnought is getting snared by the mines, but the problem is the last cannon is too busy trying to shoot fucking Strike Squad. That's the problem with putting units in garrisons, you can't actually control their target prioritization, which is a bit annoying. Here come the Paladins, this is going to be GG now. There's nothing that Innie can do. Going for the Flamer, which obviously roast anything that's hiding away in the garrison. To be honest, they might even just be able to beat down the bunker with their hammers. Questionable use of Shockwave there, didn't really do anything, but okay. Cadishans are good at killing heavy infantry and melee, but yeah, Paladins are a little bit too strong for that. Then again, the Cadishans are actually just reinforcing off the medi-bunker. That's actually a problem for Tex. Oh, but the VP's run out, yeah, the operatives tag team this Melta Stormtrooper and he's fucked. Oh, he was a Assault Kit Stormtrooper, where are the Meltas? Oh, they went back over to this side because I guess the Dreadnought was here. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, VP's run out for Inakura. A valiant last defense there with the bunker. It was a nice attempt, but unfortunately, the whole game really, Tex was just a little bit too far ahead in terms of eco, and he was always on the back foot because of it. He wasn't really able to snag any cheeky wipes with the IEDs. Maybe if the IEDs would have killed the Stormtroopers, he would have had a chance, or if he sniped down the Strike Squad. The Strike Squad put in crazy work that game. They did really well. So much tanking. Level 4 Strike Squad, 2,400 HP. Brother Captain got to level 6 in the end. Nice little kit out for him. Only level 2 on the Commissar. Yeah, I really don't think the Commissar did very well. I don't think the Carapace Arm was worth it. I think Power Sword is a no-brainer in this matchup, but he was getting really easily controlled by the Strike Squad, and in the big fights where the Strike Squad and the Operatives were together, he just got nuked down. Energy burst to drain his shield, and then he just got shot to pieces. So yeah, didn't really work out too well for him. I think the Operatives did get the better end of the engagements with the Cadishans. The Cadishans were getting moved away to try and deal with the Strike Squad too often, and then obviously one Cadishan wiped down here because he was at the front and he ate 2 incendiary grenades, and then was fighting Stormtroopers and double ops. So altogether, it means game 1 goes to Tex, but how about game 2? Alright, we got game 2 and we're in the middle of a bunch of rubble on Vulcan Pits. Inakura's still sticking with his IG, that's his main. That's where he has his faith. Man of Faith, speaking of faith, swapping to the Warlock for this map. I know that Man of Faith, aka Tex, does feel very strongly about the strength of Eldar recently, particularly the Warlock. He was saying quite recently that it just feels like easy mode when you swap to the Warlock, and I must admit I agree with him. I think they've been masterfully overbuffed throughout the course of Elite, but Adilla is doing a lot to change that, to be fair to him. In spite of being an Eldar main, he's been very reasonable, progressing quite a few nerfs to him. But nonetheless, Warlock still feels quite easy. We'll see if Inakura can handle that, or if Tex does actually find it easy to take down this Lord General of Inakura. So Inakura is going for the double guardsman in this build. I mean, it makes sense. You just have to have more repair support for your Sentinel in order to really get it to pressure the Guardians early on when they're vulnerable and only 100 HP each. This is the opportunity to really put pressure on his IG and get the lead in this sort of game. But in order to do that and not have the high DPS of the Guardians, be able to just instantly nuke down your Sentinel, because one squad of Guardians does the same DPS as Tactical Marines. The fact that you can get triple of them out so early, if the Sentinel engages triple Guardians together, it'll have no chance. Even with double IG repairs, it will easily get DPS down. There's just too much damage. For that reason, you have to have 2 guardsmen against Eldar. Well, I suppose you don't have to, but if you want your Sentinel to put on a lot of pressure, you're going to want 2 guardsmen. So, Inniker has gone for that. And he obviously has a lot of ranged pressure now as well. This matchup is all about the ranged pressure. Typically, the Eldar will forego those Banshees, though to be honest, I will say that against the Lord General himself, I do actually really like the Banshees. They obviously just rip him to pieces. And the thing with the Lord General, as annoying as it is that he can constantly heal that 200 HP by getting more retinue members in, that is 30 requisition each time. Actually, I think it's 25 now in Elite. It got buffed slightly in a cost reduction. But yeah, that's still a lot of bleed to be taking as IG. The IG economy doesn't like bleeding. It's not designed for that. Because Guardsmen don't bleed, Sentinels don't bleed. So to balance that out, the IG economy tends to have pretty strong upkeep values because the pop costs are high for the effectiveness of the units. And that means if you start bleeding in addition to the pop and upkeep costs, you're just going to run out of requisition and be in a bad state. So, if you can start bleeding those LG retinue members constantly with your Banshees, you'll be in a good spot. Nice use of the green cover. I must admit, I don't really like playing IG on maps that have a lot of these tank traps. Tank traps are really goddamn annoying because they're uncrushable. So normally if there's little bits of green cover, like let's say that this sort of thing, let's pretend it was green cover, if it's getting really annoying and the enemy is just constantly abusing it against you, you just crush it with your Sentinel and then you're all good. And then whenever your Guardsmen are in engagements where they're struggling, they can just build deployable cover anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. But these tank traps are just a nightmare because the Warlock can do shit like this, where he's delayed for ages. If he was behind the rest of the cover, you just break that with your Sentinel, and then you can't do that shit, and you're all good. You can never break tank traps, and the other problem with tank traps is, you can never, because you can't break them, it fucks up your Chimera pathing, and later on your Lehman pathing too. Just a nightmare. Anyway, rant aside about tank traps, what have we got in terms of builds? We're seeing the fast spotters coming out of Inikura, and we're seeing double shuriken for techs. Now at the moment the shurikens aren't really involved in combat, the shuriken's just capping the power node on the other side, and to be honest Inikura is doing pretty good here. He's got a very nice grasp of the map. Very good map control from Inikura, a good start I dare say. He seems to be inflicting a decent amount of bleed. Tex is doing a good job. You can see obviously these guys haven't bled. In spite of incurring a lot of damage, those guys just didn't bleed either. Oh, he actually cancels the second shuriken. He goes for battle equipment upgrades instead, and rangers. Okay. I must admit, I think that battle equipment should be a very high priority upgrade in this matchup. 33% extra HP per Guardian model is super helpful. That just makes your Eldar ranged firing lines so much more economic. Once again, you see Tex plays it well because he retreats out without bleeding a single Guardian, and a big part of that is having that battle equipment, so they do have that 33% extra HP. It's vital. This matchup comes down to requisition. So we see the Rangers out now. They're getting their Holofield upgrade, fair enough. This Guardian has been left naked, no battle equipment, he's just going to cap. Probably going to come down and cap this power node, and then the Shuriken will go here and protect the node and the VP. And Tex can start getting a bit of pressure going on. Rangers sniping the Lord General, that's good use of them. Obviously he can start bleeding some of his retinue members. There we go, that's another 25 wreck down the drain. Inikura, if he hadn't bled at all, would actually be 300 wreck. I looked down here a short while ago and I noticed he had loads of wreck, way more than he had power, so he's obviously been bleeding from something. I don't know if he did reinforce anything at base, maybe he dropped down a few gens quite late. Obviously he's constantly bleeding his retinue members. The problem the Yeldry has here, if you constantly rely... Oh, he actually bought a last turret. Fair enough, that's 150 wreck there. Nice use of the smoke shell there from the Guardians, forces them forward, because they're really trying to get the sniper on the Sentinel. They might actually be able to get it here if they just stop moving forward, but no, he doesn't want to commit. He is starting to lose models. Ultimately, you just have to play it safe as the Eldar. The last turret's an interesting choice, of course, because he is against a Warlock who can just get the Immolator. The Immolator will destroy the turret if the turret doesn't get any repairs. Another retinue member dead. As I was saying, the problem with the Lord General, if you constantly just reinforce him, he ends up being at half HP all the time, and then the retinue members just die just constantly. Again, another retinue member down. definitely not just entirely a negative being a squad like that and being able to reinforce. It does bleed you over the course of the game, and fighting the Lord General, that's one thing that you have to consider. Actually bleeding the Lord General can be a viable tactic to screw him over. Don't get stressed because he's pushing you off with the constant reinforcing. It's fine, if he's constantly reinforcing, he's paying to push you off. He's paying good requisition for that. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a loss for you. Grenade's going to have to come out here, disrupt these guardsmen. Don't know why the Rangers are running forward there. That would have been a really good time to get a grenade into kinetic pulse. But he kind of fucked it. Grenade there does quite well. Kills 3 guardsmen, 4 guardsmen. But, you know, they're only guardsmen. Very cheap, obviously. Shuriken repositions, though, quite nicely. He's going to stop this IG force from getting the gem bash off, so that's good. Meanwhile, the naked guardians are going off cap inside, as we would expect, and the warlock's cap in the middle. Surprising that the warlock hasn't gone for the immolator. I guess that's fine. He doesn't really need it. He's, at the end of the day, the last turret has already destroyed all the gens here, and Tex's real farm now is on this side. So it's not really a high priority to cap that node back up at the moment. His priority has to be defending this gen farm. If he loses this gem farm, he's going to be in a terrible spot, particularly because Inakura is already tier 2 with a Chimera now on the field, and Tex is not even in tier 2 himself yet. So it'll be interesting to see what Tex goes for in tier 2. He's got a few options. Now obviously when you see a Chimera or any other transport as an Eldar, and you've got a lot of power in the bank, you can obviously just go for a Falcon. Your Falcon will transport your troops around whilst killing the enemy transport since it does AV damage. That's an option, but against IG it's not really an option that I like to take. There's a lot of soft AV options that IG can pull out of their ass that really are very strong against your infantry as well, that you don't really want to be encouraging them to get, such as the melter guns and the Lord General. But of course he's probably not going to get that now because he's got a sniper rifle instead. But also the missile launcher and the Sentinel. It'll only take 4 shots or so if a couple of them are on rear armour to kill a Falcon with the Sentinel missile launcher. And that's really problematic. They can start adding things like a las cannon heavy weapons team, really high DPS heavy weapons team las cannon. Like, it's more DPS than the Space Marine ones or the Chaos ones. It's the IG las cannon. Not to mention it can get that shield to give it knockback resistance. I don't think it gives suppression resistance anymore, but I might get both. Either way, it's making it harder to deal with. So I don't like going for the vehicles when I want to kill IG. Instead, Wraithguard are the classic, right? Especially when you're playing as the Warlock who gives Wraith Sight. You've gone for a triple Guardian build, so you can easily get your Warlocks on the Guardian squads. You're going to have Wraith Sight all over the place. The Wraithguard themselves can quite easily deal with the Chimera. You can also snipe the Sentinel down quite well. Now of course, if the IG player's on top of his micro, he'll be able to dodge the shots quite easily. But you know, that's easier said than done. Especially when these Guardians start getting all their Warlocks. The Warlock is such a gigantic damage spike. Honestly, all the upgrades for the Guardians, there's only 2, but both of the upgrades for the Guardians are really, really cost effective. Nice stomp there on the Wraithguard, comboing the stomp with fully upgraded Guardsmen with plasma guns. Why does he get the plasma guns get Sildar? Well, it doesn't help against the Guardians, but it does help kill the Wraithguard, who are the primary threat on the field right now. That said, triple Guardians will be able to outshoot double fully upgraded Guardsmen once they do have their Warlock. The problem, of course, is that the Guardsmen reinforce really cheaply, whereas your Guardians don't. So you'll win an engagement with your Guardians and perhaps force the Guardsmen to retreat, but when they come back the next time, you probably need to have retreated your Guardians already to heal them in between the fight, so you're going to be bleeding a lot. Now you can counteract that with Falcon, you can counteract that with the healing from the Warlock Webway gates, but you have to do something. You can't just straight up face tank them. Not for multiple engagements. Still, this Guardian is left quite naked. I would like to see it get some upgrades now, to be honest. I think at this point it's becoming a weakness in Tex's build, which Inakura can exploit to get lots of bleed. You've seen how they had to retreat instantly there. If that mortar shell had landed prior to their retreat and they were knocked forward, that would have been a terrible spot for Tex. Probably would have lost them on retreat, in fact. I mean, 500 HP against all of the IG firing line in tier 2 is not good. Huge damage coming out of the Wraithguard there from the plasma guns, wow. Sniper rifle buff proving extremely effective as well. Look at the range of these guardsmen. Where is the Chimera? The Chimera has been just held back in reserve. Very defensive. Nice stomp from the Sentinel here. Probably going to wipe the Rangers. Does he have the foresight to notice? He could actually move the guardsmen into retreat path and kill them with the Commissar swords. Oh, he hasn't noticed. Instead, he's just going to wipe the Bright Lance. Just outrageous amounts of DPS. Drops the energy shield very quickly and just wipes them. Inikura following up with Ogryns. Tex, on the other hand, just getting more Wraithguard. He really needs a way to control the Ogryns, so that's going to be the problem here. These Wraithguard are bumbling mammoths. They're very slow. So you can sort of waddle them down the centre of the map and force the IG off, but the problem on this map is that the VPs aren't in the centre. So you can waddle around the centre as much as you like, and you're not necessarily going to win the game because, you know, he's going to hold the Eastern VP, he's going to hold his natural VP, and you're going to lose. So Tex needs a way to deal with this. He's getting another Shuriken, and that's really smart. That's your control there for the Ogryns, right? You suppress the Ogryns first, and then you can just blast them with your Wraithguard. You can see the Wraithguard do huge damage to the Ogryns when they can actually hit them. Ogryns, honestly, yeah, they should have been retreating. I don't know what Inikura is doing here. Now they're going to go into the next fight with only half HP on all the minor Ogryn models, and Rangers do good damage to Ogryns over time, man. An Ogryn model, that's so brutal. An Ogryn model costs the same as a Nob model. 75 requisition and 15 power. You do not want to be paying for Ogryn models. Lost the Bonad as well there. That was really unnecessary. He should have baited the Wraithguard to hit the generator and then just hit retreat as soon as they'd launched their shots. He would have destroyed the generator anyway, and then he wouldn't have bled at all. So that was... Oh my god, he lost another Ogryn. Well, that's awful. That has just crushed his economy. He'd be close to going tier 3 in spite of the Manticore if that hadn't happened. So the Sentinel's fallen at some point. That's it there. It's not really a big deal. The Sentinel doesn't do that much in this late game. It kind of just goes around the sides and could compete with that naked Guardian. Where is that Guardian? There's still no upgrades. Very odd. So the Sentinel obviously could handle that, and that would literally be its only purpose, and the decapping points. It's not a big deal that it's gone down. It's just less upkeep for Inikura to pay. Nice conservative use of the Chimera here. Supporting his guardsmen, holding the VPs. Ranger's going to get that decap again. They probably will get it because of the infiltration. It's just really risky though. If he can spot this in Inikura, he can easily set up for a retreat kill. Manticore not got any kills yet, but he did force off the entire blob of Tex. Tex actually opting to go tier 3. Yeah. This game, honestly, if all those Ogryn losses didn't happen, let's think about this. I can't remember how much the Bonehead is right now. I believe he's like 125, let's go with that, right? And then 2 Ogryn models. Inikura should have 250 requisition and 60-ish extra power. Well, the power's not really a big deal. Actually, no, that would be perfect. If he didn't lose that Bonehead and double models and the Ogryns by just retreating instantly over there, he'd now be able to go tier 3. He'd be clicking that tier 3 button right now. And then of course remember, he can use his red to drop in a Lehman Russ tank even quicker as the Lord General. So just, you know, just food for thought. Ogryns are good, but you've got to use them correctly. You do not want them bleeding against Wraithguard. The Guardsmen bleeding like this, not a problem. The Ogryns, big problem. So they do actually get into melee here with the Wraithguard. They've compromised them and pushed them off. Spotters drop a couple of models over here, and the upgraded Guardians are going to do their thing. Manticore comes in and counters the Shuriken. I do have to wonder why the Spotters were so far out of position. Honestly, the Lord General and the Ogryns could have handled this situation on their own and then used the Manticore to kill the Shuriken. And the Chimera and Guardsman could have been on the right hand side. So just pointing out a couple of flaws in his playstyle here. Did he fully reinforce the Spotters? Oh wow, he didn't. Where's all these requisition gone? I guess that was literally just all the Guardsmen right there in the mid, because he didn't even lose an Ogryn. Well, he has now, but he didn't in the middle. Might be able to finally punish Tex for not upgrading this Guardian squad. Nope, doesn't look like he can. Now the Ogryns are dealing with the Guardians on this side of the map. It's always just so scary though, because 2 perfectly landed grenades will wipe an Ogryn squad out from full HP. And just too slow on the uptake here. The Shuriken and the double Wraith Guard are already set up. Oh, Manticore could be good. Oh, is he going to lose the Guardsman? He's trying to reinforce. No, he's a little bit too far away from the Chimera there. Loses his Sergeant. That's really expensive. That's a lot of requisition when you lose the Sergeant.
Sir, that object has been destroyed.
Witchblade of Kernus now up on the Warlock. He'll obviously be able to use that to control the Ogrins quite well. He probably wished he had it over here in this instance when he was around his Guardians, would have been able to protect them a lot better. And he's going for a D-Cannon. Interesting choice. I must admit, it's a little bit questionable to go tier 3 and make a D-Cannon your first purchase, but, you know, if he feels safe, he feels safe. Here it is. Ethereal Slash. Good damage. No model kills though. That's a really effective use of the Ogrins there. He's gone in, he's tanked the Guardian fight for ages using his super heavy infantry. He's actually wiped the fragile, non-upgraded Guardian, and then he's got out of it without losing a single model. Bit of a swing and a miss there on the Manticore. Does manage to kill one of the Guardian weapon team crew, but doesn't actually force off either of the Wraith Guard, who are sort of bumbling forward. Take out this node, and then I don't know what he'll do. Probably go back around then. Could do with seeing a few more webway gates from Tex at this point. I would like to see some... Ah, here we go. Yep, he's seen it. He's getting a webway gate up on the side here. Because these Wraith Guard, they're just so slow. Slow but tanky. So having the webway gates to support them, keep healing them up between fights, and provide a network of transportation for the Wraith Guard is really, really beneficial. But Inikura is pushing back out now. He's back on the field, and there's not really anything to stop him. The Steed Cannon isn't going to do it. I mean, it's a lovely utility support tool, but, you know, if the enemy pushes his entire army against it, it can't really repel them. Now, a Fire Prism would be able to do that, but it is... Well, it's not that risky anymore, because he's took out the Sentinel. The Lord General's got the snipers instead of melter guns, so the only real threat to the Fire Prism would be the Manticore, but, you know, in theory... you should be able to dodge that quite easily because your Fire Prism is going to have a lot of range. And the Manticore doesn't want to be anywhere near a Fire Prism. It'll get blasted to pieces. So yeah, I don't know, I'm questioning this D-Cannon choice. I would have liked to have seen him just get a Fire Prism. I think that'd be really, really helpful. Constantly disrupting these Guardsmen. Wraith Guard doing their thing, bleeding the Lord General again, and this is the problem. There's just too much bleed at this point. Inikura has to accept the fact that he's going to be stuck into tier 2, and that's less problematic when you're already ahead, but he's not ahead. He's behind in VPs here.
Their advantage is meager.
But if he gets some good plays with the Ogrins, he could be in a nice spot. I love this defensive Shuriken usage. As soon as these Ogrins get suppressed, the Wraith Guard are going to turn around and blast them. They just need to retreat. What is he doing? Yeah, just retreat, man. Cannot take the full volleys from the Ogrins. If you are not moving, you will die. I'm pretty sure these guns that the Wraith Guard have, I'm certain they do extra damage to super heavy infantry. I don't know the amount, but it's very frightening for Ogrins. And we do see the Fire Prism now, that's nice. Is that the anti-suppression armor? It is. Alright, that's cool. Wraith Guard are getting forced off. Now we'll be able to shoot down the Shuriken. He's built up quite a lot for this D-Cannon. I think it just zapped this area. Maybe? Did it? Not sure. Yeah, he did. You can see the sort of distortion effect afterwards. Guardians are really falling off in utility here. They're mostly just going around capping the map, but I guess it doesn't really matter because they're getting the job done. You know, the Warlock is split up on the other side. There's just a lot of shit on the field for Inikura to deal with right now with the size of his army. This Fire Prism in this spot is going to be a nightmare. A bit of a redundant Manticore usage there. He'd already sort of pushed up and compromised the position for Tex. I don't really know why he used that Manticore. Ogrins are going to try and cap, but it's kind of pointless because the Fire Prism is just going to keep knocking them over. That's the beauty of the Fire Prism.
We're standing by here.
I'll see to it personally.
Honestly, at this point, Tex could just get anything. His economy's booming. In all of these engagements we've seen, Tex has never lost any models. The Wraith Guard never bleed. The Guardians are barely bleeding. He didn't even reinforce them, it looks like. Using them for Wraith Sight at the moment. I think he's hunting for the Manticore. he's hunting for that Manticore. Fire Prism moving up, that will control the mid. There should be a decent engagement for the Ogrins here, yeah. They are kind of blobbing up a little bit for these Wraithguard to shoot them. They should just get out. Okay, Creeping Basilisk Barrage is going to come down, stop the decap over here. And again, Ogrins get out without losing any models. Great, good engagement for them. This gives Inakura the time he needs to cap up the side of the map. The problem is he can't really do anything now. He's sort of just a sitting duck because he can't count this Fire Prism. I don't really know what the best option would be. Obviously you can get a Las Cannon Heavy Weapons team. That's alright. It actually has the exact same range as the Fire Prism, and that's the problem. If the Fire Prism is used well and kept at max range, it's just going to back off after you get one shot on it and then you can't follow up. Though, that said, the Las Cannon into a Manticore could be pretty effective at sniping a Fire Prism. It's actually very good in 3v3s, killing tanks, so we could definitely see it in this application. Fire Prism, after all, isn't really a true tank, it's more of a vehicle hunter specialist. It's a lot more fragile than a true battle tank is. And Inakura's got the 2 cap right now. You can tell the guardsmen have been reinforcing constantly off the Chimera because of how low HP they are in spite of being full models. I hate seeing that. Like one D-cannon shot on these guys here. 900 HP spread over 12 models, that's going to be brutal. D-cannon into a dispersed shot from the Fire Prism could just wipe the squad. Look at that! Just takes off about a third of their HP instantly. Brutal. Really nice use of the Shuriken here. This is where he needs the spotters. Oh no, the spotters are dead. I didn't notice. When the hell did they die? Well, he's got the Manticore, but it's just not a good use of it, is it? To force off one Shuriken. Shuriken costs like a third of what the Manticore does. But indeed, in theory, he should have had the spotters here to then disrupt that Shuriken, and then of course the Ogrins can get out the Wraithguard. But that's all you do. You put the Shuriken behind the Wraithguard, and suddenly the Ogrins are useless. That's the problem. And he's just bleeding, bleeding, bleeding every fight. Whereas Tex is never bleeding at all. He's going to have enough money for an avatar soon.
So that's 100 points.
Yep, Ogren's going to have to get out. Another Fire Prism shot could result in them bleeding models. It's just not worth it. Yep, that's 2 of them dead. No, 1 of them dead. As if he's still not retreated. This isn't worth it, man. He has actually got tier 3. I don't know how the hell he's managed to do that. For some reason the Fire Prism stopped shooting the Ogrins, which is odd. Okay. Where's that Chimera? Right, it's over on this side for some reason. What's it doing over there? Get it with your guardsman. D-cannon's frightening him, I think. Rightly so, I suppose. Cash guardsmen with singularity on retreat, and they're just going to get gibbed.
So we're losing a victory point out there.
Whoops, that was a misclick. Yeah, nearly enough money for a avatar for Tex. I mostly dodged it. Oh, God, that's painful. Look at all those little giblets. Poor guardsman. Ripped to pieces by that Eldar technology.
Here, let's get to it. That's the general request.
Not a lot of VPs here for Inakura. I don't think he can do this, because how's he going to be able to cap when there's a Fire Prism? That's the problem. This Prism's been the MVP. All it has to do is move back. Shuriken, stay here. Wraithguard are coming out on the right flank. He can't cap. Prism's just going to keep knocking him over. And so he loses because he doesn't have the VP on this side. Once again, it comes down to VPs. Inakura is fighting very valiantly, but he's just losing out on that VP game. Bit of a shame, really. He'd have had a Lehman Russ out pretty soon. And that could definitely have been the comeback for him. Because if he got a Vanquisher Lehman Russ with a really long range, it actually nearly has the same range as the Fire Prism, can quite easily rush it down because it is faster than it, and just take it out. That would have set up his comeback. But no time, unfortunately. He's run out of VPs. So game 2 is going to Tex as well. Well, Inikura needs to win 3 in a row now if he wants to make that comeback. Let's see how it goes. Here we go, game 3 between Excalibur and Inikura. Inikura probably feeling rather pissed off with the Eldar OP from the last game. He's now going to be swapping to Eldar himself, playing the Warp Spider Exarch, rushing over to his natural power node and capping it up. On the other side of things, Tex is going with his old faithful. I believe this was the first guy that he ever really mained, and it's definitely the thing that I remember Tex for in retail, the War Boss. Tex's Orcs are quite the classic, so I'll be very curious to see how he plays his War Boss in the current contemporary meta. Definitely a very different place than back when he was playing the War Boss in retail, but a lot of things still stand, such as Wraith Lords being particularly effective against Orcs when left in range stance with their Shuriken shoulder-mounted cannon. It's a staple of the matchup because it can handle pretty much everything the Orcs throw at it, short of like looted tanks, you know, but you have enough AV from other sources to deal with that. Warp Spiders are a very good option as well. Not necessarily the Warp Spider Exarch, but actual proper Warp Spiders, but of course the Warp Spider Exarch can get cheaper Warp Spider broods. Also, the Warp Spider Exarch can get that heavy gauge filament, which can stun the War Boss in his tracks. That can help control him and take him out of big fights. But on the other hand, now in Elite, the War Boss himself can get the enhanced custom shooter that can stun the Warp Spider Exarch. It's a bit of a game of, I don't know what it is, like a game of chicken kind of. They're both going to be evading one another, and they wait to get the stun off. Whoever gets the stun off first is going to have a big advantage. That's if they go for those upgrades. But the enhanced custom shooter, he's already getting it. Wow. I was just going to say, I actually really like it against Eldar because when you're chasing down like Banshees who are running away to try and like get the easier targets like the boys, or you're chasing Guardians that are kiting to get into the building, it gives you more DPS, you know? And it does this against the Warp Spider Exarch, which is really nice. Good DPS to him, stunning him. Obviously it's not that great when you're just on your own, but when you do it in a big engagement, you've got double shooter boys nearby to focus down the stun squad, it can be extremely effective. So map control right now looking very favourable to Tex, but that is expected because Tex has gone for the triple tier 1 opener, whereas Inikura went for double. Inikura already has 2 gens up. Tex has 2 gens up as well. Oh wow, Inikura's already getting out a second shuriken. So 2 tier 1.5 squads coming out for Inikura before Tex can even get 1 out. Have to assume that Tex will go for the Storm Boys, which will be able to deal with the shurikens if they approach from a flank, and then you can utilise a combination of big shooters along with the boss pull on the War Boss, or the charge, the Now I'm Angry ability on the War Boss, to deal with the frontal shuriken. But we'll see how that goes. No Eldar aspects coming in yet. Slugger Boys evading the firing arc of that shuriken, but another one's set up, so it's no problem. Those Slugger Boys are going to have to get out of there. War Boss gets caught by this one as well, so it's just the shooter boys in the field now. And Guardians are in a pretty good spot here. Just can cap up all these points, nothing really to contest them. Banshee's even getting on retreat to slice up a couple of Slugger Boys. No, just one. Now the Banshee's going to have to chase down these shooters, but there's no upgrade in the shooters, so it's not like they can stall it out by suppressing them with aiming. What's that? It doesn't matter actually, the Banshees are a bit too slow. Come on, ladies. The shoot boys are already getting in the garrison. Too late. And there you go, we see the heavy gauge Death Spinner. God, it's almost like I know the game and I'm a fucking master strategist. Call all this shit before it happens. We even see Storm Boys. Ooh, who else would have predicted that except STD, yeah? Anyone could have predicted that, but yeah. I've called everything so far. Let's see how it plays out. Now, I would like to see some big shooters on the shooter boys. There's going to have to be an upgrade on the War Boss as well to handle these shurikens. He has to make a decision. Do you go boss pole and rely on your shooters to deal with it? Can be awkward because of the tank traps, which are the uncrushable cover. War Boss can crush the other cover, but tank traps not so much. That obviously can make the boss pole shooter strategy a lot less effective. It's better against shurikens that don't have any cover. Or do you go for the Now I'm Angry charge and just try and approach on the flank? Move your 2 shooters up, shuriken presses them, War Boss charges them from the side, then the overlapping shuriken gets dropped by Storm Boys and you win. That's the principle there, but, you know, it doesn't support your entire army, it makes your War Boss very selfish. Slugger Boys doing well here. Force off the Guardians. Don't actually lose any models from that grenade, which was very surprising. Literally everything from Inakura is now off the field, but he's not in a bad spot. Seems to have delayed that gen a lot. I think he forgot about that. Should have had a third gen up a long time ago. I'm pretty sure no one bashed him. Maybe they did. Either way, that's going to mean that he gets a tier 2 a lot later. Could have done with noting this as well, to be honest. But then again, Burner's still got here, so it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. I'm not seeing any upgrades for the shooter boys. Tex, I guess, going for a fast vehicle. Probably a fast DD. Doesn't really matter. Fast DD, fast truck. Same sort of effect. Can facilitate a full gen bash against Inakura and put him majorly behind. Not a lot of Eldar. Not a lot of red for the Eldar at the moment, and that's a bit concerning for Inakura because he really wants Warp Spiders in tier 2. I'm a little bit worried right now. What's going to happen is a truck or a DD is going to come out, some sort of quick tier 2 vehicle. He's going to get a full bash on Inakura, and then he can't afford his Wraithlord / Falcon. Always go for a Wraithlord against Orcs, don't get a Falcon. Falcon's shit against Orcs. But he can't afford his vehicle then, and what's going to happen is he's going to then get his Warp Spiders manually for 40 power. He's just going to run out of power basically. He's going to be stuck then with just Warp Spiders and no other upgrades. And at least if he had some red, he'd just be able to drop them in for 0 power, and that'd be really nice, but he has no red for Warp Spiders right now. It's a problem. So let's see if it happens as I predict. So now we see the big shooters. I really like that play from Tex. He waited to go tier 2 first, and then bought the big shooters afterwards, so that it didn't delay his tier 2 and he optimized the timing. Very nice. The problem is now he doesn't have any power for the vehicle. Because of that, if he wants to play optimally, he must get a war truck, so it comes out as soon as possible and he can get this gen bash then. Looks like he isn't going for it. I'm pretty sure the war truck is cheaper than 40 power. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't played in a long time. Looks like he's going for that Death Dread. Oh my god, the war truck is 40 power. Oh. Yes, Elite Mod. Nerf the shit out of that gun. That's deserved, but I remember when it was 30 power. God damn. It makes sense though, so he's going for the war truck. He's got his whole army here for the push against the gen farms. The problem is, he might trade farms at this point. Nah, it doesn't look like he's gonna. Inakura actually fucked up there. He should have kept the shuriken here to protect against the war boss, and then he could have easily just done a gen farm trade. Whereas right now he's just gonna sacrifice his gens and not get anything back in return. Well, you know, he got 1.5 gens down here. Is he going to lose his whole farm? Probably. Yeah, he is. Farm's gone. Yeah, so he just traded his full gen farm for 1 gen down here. Whereas if he had the shuriken still here, he would have deterred the war boss and been able to get a full bash down here. So that was a fuck up on Inakura's behalf. Inakura is now tier 2. I don't know if he's spotted the war truck yet. He probably does want to save up to get the Falcon or the Wraithlord. Should be noding this to get a little bit more power income. He needs to get power income wherever the hell he can find it right now. And he probably... I don't know actually, I think he still doesn't have enough the Warp Spider call in. He wants that as soon as possible. Ideally, he'd have enough power for a Wraithlord and then be able to call in Warp Spiders as well. That'd put him in a really nice position. The combination of Wraithlord plus Warp Spiders, really strong against Orcs. Where are the Banshees? They're over there. I've kind of just been going solo for most of this game, and I don't really know how I feel about that.
Generator operational.
This is precisely the situation that I predicted. Tex has gone tier 2 first, he's got the fast vehicle out, he has bashed Inakura. Inakura now is struggling to get any units. He's going to purchase his first tier 1.5... Fucking hell. Sorry guys, I'm kind of tired. His first tier 2 unit, which is the Falcon, and then he's going to run out of power and not be able to get anything else to deal with the counters that arrive. That was really unlucky. The war boss was super low on HP. Good use of Ard Boys from Tex. That was clearly necessary to give him that damage resistance, so the war boss didn't die in that case, and he sneaks out on super low HP. So the Falcon's coming out. Perhaps we should talk about why the Falcon is a poor choice against Orcs. Tank Busters. Tank Busters are range 44. The barrage itself is much easier to hit on transports and tanks than it is on walkers. They've just got a bigger hitbox. One perfectly landed barrage will wipe a Falcon. That means you do a normal set of 4 rocket shots from your busters into a barrage, or the other way around, barrage into 4 rockets, and you're going to kill a Falcon. It's just really, really risky. And of course, he can put the tank busters inside a truck, and then you can't evade him, and he can easily hunt you down and kill you. It's just, yeah, I don't know, I don't like the Falcon. The Wraithlord is really nice because you get a lot of melee support. The Wraithlord obviously can tango with the Sluggers and the Stormboys with their upgrades, and that's really nice. And if the Orc gets tier 3, which will probably... the Orc will probably get tier 3 before you do, as we're seeing happens anyway. The Wraithlord actually scales quite well against knobs, whereas the Falcon doesn't really do anything against knobs, they just shrug off its DPS. Now he actually gets a really good snipe there because Tex is choosing not to counter the Falcon, he's just going to ignore it for now. And this actually sets up an opening for Inikura to make a comeback. He uses the red to call down his Warp Spiders, you know, just as I predicted. That's great, that's fine. Cool. Right, now gather all your stuff together, Ini. You need to go and get a Gem Bash. But you need to be fearful of potential tank busters, because he doesn't know right now, did Tex respond by buying busters, or did Tex respond by teching up? We know, obviously, he's responded by teching up. If he had responded with busters, the busters would be right here, waiting for the Falcon, ready to defend the Gen Farm. So Inikura needs to be cautious of that. Send the Warp Spider off down here, he can cap up. Every other fucking unit of yours needs to move over to this side to ensure you can get this Gem Bash, because getting this Gem Bash now against Tex is absolutely crucial, because he's going tier 3 and he's going to start spamming some crazy fucking Orc shit. The Orc tier 3 is one of the strongest tier 3s in the entire game, probably the strongest. At the very least, it's got the strongest infantry. And here comes some of them, the Commandos are coming out. This is going to be a problem. Commandos can infiltrate. Their Nob leader does the same DPS as 3 Tank Buster boys from one set fucking rocket that infiltrates. That shit gets some rear armor, your Falcon ain't lasting long. Unless it's got a shield in tier 3, your Falcon's gonna die. That's gonna be a problem. To mention, you have the constant burner bombs and the Love the Daka. Potentially, Tex could even combo that with rocks if he can save up the red, and that can just straight up wipe an Eldar army. You know, Eldar are not really renowned for their durability, they're actually quite a fragile race. So it's problems, and now Tex never really did get the utility upgrades on his Warboss to deal with these shurikens, so the double shurikens layered is going to actually force off these Stormboys quite effectively. Actually using Ardboys here just to get a decap, I don't like that play. That's quite a terrible use of red, to be honest with you. Don't know what he's doing. Tex seems to be running out of resources for some reason. Just imagine if Inikura had got this full bash here. Oh my god, he'd be in a great spot right now, because Tex wouldn't be able to even get the Nob on his Commando. And whilst there's no Nob on the Commando, this Falcon's uncontested. It gives Inikura a massive combat advantage. So he's in an alright spot, honestly. But I just want to say that if he got this bash, Inikura, I would say, would be in a massively favourable advantage. Massively favoured position. Yes, he's tier 2, but honestly the Eldar tier 2 can handle the Orc tier 3 fine, so long as you don't give the Orcs enough time and resources to get multiple tier 3 squads out. If it's just Nobs on their own and then maybe a tank, that's fine. When they start to get tanks, Mandos and Nobs or Gates, it becomes a problem. Now the good thing for Inikura here, as I'm sure you guys have probably noticed a long time ago and I've not commentated on, Inikura's got a massive fucking VP lead in typical Warp Spider exact fashion. And this is a pretty big map. You start dropping Web Brigades down here, drop them in the corner here, drop them over here. It gets a real nightmare trying to take the VPs off the Eldar. And it's just not fun being behind already as it is. Nice, he's getting the Rangers next. Yeah, he's playing this really well, isn't he? I like this. They're obviously going to detect the Commandos in case he tries to sneak behind them and hit the Falcon with the rocket launcher. Could even just put the Rangers inside the Falcon, I guess. Detection within radius 30. Something to consider. Warp Spider's doing really well, actually. Let's see what level he is. Ah, he's only level 1. He's not doing that well, I guess. He's doing his job. He's bleeding a little bit, but he's mostly just capping a lot of the map. And that's ultimately what Warp Spider's there for. Nice use of crack shot here on the actual Warp Spider Brood. they snipe that. Oh, the tank's already out. Oh shit, where did that tank come from? Oh no, this is bad. Tanks are fast. Falcon is not that fast. It's the slowest of all transports. You know, something has to compensate for that anti-all damage. And so the tank just hunts it down. Now the Falcon's dead. Okay. Well, that puts Sinakura in a bad position. He needed that Falcon. I didn't realise the tank was already out. That's bad. If he had a Wraith Lord, it wouldn't have died there. He'd have lived and been able to combo the Bright Lance and the Haywire and then the Wraith Lord melee to kill that looted tank and probably still be in the game. Well, he is still in the game. He can rap. He can rap. Eldar are Eldar, and they do Eldar things. It's a big map. There is plenty of potential here for Inakura to win this on VPs. He just needs to not bleed. I don't know how I feel about capping in front of a looted tank. Well, you know, it forced the boom shot. That used a bit of red, I guess. He didn't really bleed, so it's alright. He's got to do something, hasn't he? I don't know why the Watt Spider Exarch's just going in the middle here. That was obviously going to happen. Just get full autoed and shot by the tank. And he just loses the fucking Watt Spider. What the hell? What died here? Was that the Banshees? No, they didn't die. What died there? I don't know. Anyway, Gouge Wind seems forced off. Was that a Shuriken? Did a Shuriken get wiped? When did the Shuriken die? Don't know. Crack shots down the Watt Spiders again, gives them gigantic piercing DPS, actually forced off the Commandos quite easily there. Able to do some good DPS to the War Boss. Unfortunately for the Watt Spiders though, the War Boss has got the heavy armour. I like my armour nice and spiky, nice and heavy, and really goddamn tough. And that's exactly what he's got. 900 extra maximum HP and 1.5 HP regen. The heavy armour is heavy as fuck. Heavy metal. Heavy fucking metal. Then you drop down Hard Boys as well. Honestly, that Hard Boys was so unnecessary. He was already going to get into melee and then the spiders have to get out. But he drops it anyway, because it's Tex and he don't give a shit. He's got loads of red. And it's getting a little bit out of control now. The Eldar forces are just not able to contain the upgraded leveled units. Oh, fuck. So goes under Swamp and actually managed to wipe the Bright Lance, and now there's no real counter to the tank. This is a problem because now Tex has got a triple cap, and without a way to deal with the tank, Inakura's Eldar is not really going to be able to push out and do a whole lot here. So that's a problem.
More cautiously now.
I'm afraid it looks like Inakura is screwed. I don't know what he can do here. I mean, Tex will be able to get knobs out soon, and then, you know, he already can't handle the composition that Tex has got. Never mind when knobs come out as well. Yeah. Yeah, that's the end of it.
Sense desperation in our foe.
Not sure what the complaint is against the map here. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the complaint is. The map didn't really seem to impact things in this game. What I will say is, Innie, you played pretty well, mate. And that was definitely your game to win. I think the one thing that you had to recognise, and that just this one thing would have changed the game entirely. When that Falcon came down here, because Tex chose to go tier 3 instead of buying tank busters, there was a massive window in which Tex had absolutely no AV, and you failed to bash his gens. You didn't get any gens. You didn't get any. I'm trying to remember now. There was another instance when you traded farms as well. I think it was early tier 2. Before the vehicle came out. I don't know. I think it was even tier 1. Where the full bash happened over here. And then you got one with the Banshees. The Warbus came and forced off the Banshees. And you retreat the Shuriken to try and stop the bash. But you should have recognised that a counter bash would have been necessary, because the Shuriken would never get back in time. Kept the Shuriken down here, and then got the full bash with your Banshees and your Shuriken. You'd been in a great spot. Then when the second time, when the Falcon came down, you'd have got a full bash again. Basically, this wouldn't be happening where double looted tanks are out, commandos are out, heavy armor's out. Like, Tex wouldn't have had the power to deal with that. The other thing I'd say is, always go for the Wraith Lord against Orcs. Don't go for the Falcon. The Wraith Lord's just way better. Wraithlord with the shoulder-mounted shuriken cannon is actually very good at gem bashing in range stance. That's something to consider as well. But yeah, a bit late coming out now. Just not going to have... Just, there's nothing, and he doesn't have anything. No VPs, no infantry, nothing to compete with these tanks. It is merely a matter of time. But a decent series, even though it's gone 3-0 to Inikura. He honestly played it pretty damn good. I think this was actually the first league that Ini has ever been in Division A. So, yeah, played really well. Actually gave Tex a real fight for his money here. Some pretty close games. That last game as well went on real long. And honestly, if the VPs in that last game on Vulcan Pits went on a bit longer, I think Ini honestly would have won that. Because the Lehman comes out with a Vanquisher, and he can easily beat and snipe the Fire Prism, at which point the Wraith card starts becoming a lot worse. Then you get things like Casa King capping faster, doing fucking huge damage, moving around really quickly. Yeah, the late game definitely favours the IG, and he did hold out to get to it without getting base locked, which against an Eldar player as competent as Tex, that's no mean feat. Unfortunately, this game he wasn't able to win either, so it's going to be 3-0 to Tex, and so Tex advances, and Inikura will drop down into the losers bracket. Have to fight someone down there, which will be another replay entirely. That's the concede, that's the series. Thank you for watching, my guys. Torpid out.